what is it that we do?
We get the people what they want.
Of course, we're going to talk about the Western Conference Finals Game 3 tonight. Of course, we're going to talk about the Pistons winning the lottery. But we start with Trae Young in Milwaukee with the shots, with the floaters, with the assists. Ice Trae the game, took over the game, scored 48 and brought a win for the Hawks. Jalen Rose, what did you think about this virtuosic performance from Ice Trae?
I'm icy. That's what I think. And here's the deal, David Jacoby. That young man is not only being incredibly productive, but I like the flash and the flavor that he brings to the floor. Not only with his unlimited range shooting from 30 plus feet, but how about dimes off the backboard to John Collins? How about getting a little shimmy, shimmy, ya, shimmy, yo, shimmy, ya, when he opened for three and they give him some range? And then his float on game has been outstanding. And so I'm old enough to remember when the Nets were supposed to come out of the East. I'm old enough to remember the process and all of the changes that happened with that team. And yet the Atlanta Hawks are beating the Milwaukee Bucks 1-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals. This is incredible for Nate McMillan, that franchise, and this basketball team.
It's that shot right there. It is Trae Young holding up the one, which I love the mentality is, yeah, we had a big win. Yeah, that's emotional. But right after the game, he's like, that's only one, and we need 4 to get to the NBA Finals. And Trae Young didn't do it alone. Yes, of course, he scored or assisted 72 of 116 points for the Hawks, but they got a big game from friend of Jalen and Jacoby, John Collins. John Collins was efficient, he was active on both ends of the floor, and he was a key contributor in this victory. What do you think about JC's performance?
I think I always try to make sure I acknowledge what makes players look different to me. And I was watching John Collins, I was like, wait a minute, he catching lobs off the backboard and he making corner threes. I normally don't see players do that. And so I did some stat hunting. Do you realize in the last 25 years of the NBA, there have only been 3 players that make at least 60 threes and 60 dunks in the season? Sean Marion, Anthony Davis, and John Collins. Because usually the guy that's making threes ain't dunking on people and or vice versa. So when you see his productivity, along with Gallo, who made a couple of buckets up front, shot the Red Velvet, who's been giving them quality minutes, Bogey, who's been in and out of the lineup trying to fight through a knee injury and play good minutes, Solomon Hill, like they're getting so many players that are playing their best basketball at the right time of the season. And man, if you're the Indiana Pacers, you actually fired Nate McMillan. You actually fired Nate
right
McMillan.
After signing him to an extension,
After signing him to an extension and then hiring a coach that you fire after one season, that is not a good look.
So it's time to turn our attention to the Bucks because it seemed like after timeouts, they would just get Giannis a lob whenever they wanted. It just seemed like, especially in the fourth quarter, after timeouts, Giannis gets a lob, easy bucket. But at the end of the game, Giannis needed a little bit of help because it was Chris Middleton, again, not showing up for the Bucks. And it was Pat Connaughton missing a huge, wide-open practice 3. Jalen, what do the Bucks need to change in order to win Game 2?
So, of course, if you're the Hawks, you're going to miss Hunter and or Reddish, and if you're the Bucks, you're going to miss DiVincenzo. However, you're supposed to make open shots. And that shot in particular from Pat Connaughton, that was an air ball, those are buzz kills late in the game. It's one thing for a dude to miss a shot, but it's another thing for him to shoot an air ball, especially when he's supposed to be a shooter. And they're not going to win many games when Middleton takes more shots than he has points. Drew Holiday was terrific offensively, but I have to give Trae Young credit because Drew played him a lot better in the regular season. But once the postseason started and those bigs started slumping off the pick and rolls, now all of a sudden Trae Young got room to operate and he out there dancing on them and knocking down shots. That's why he had a huge first half.
Yes, that drop coverage has got to go. Coach Bud, I know you watch the show every day. Coach Bud, you got to drop the drop coverage. You just got to drop the drop coverage. Another thing I want to point out is This was a sneaky, really good game from Giannis. When you look at his shot chart, where he got his buckets, this is the Giannis that everyone's always asked for. Don't shoot the threes. Don't shoot the jump shots. Just shoot in the restricted area and the paint. And that's what he did. I thought it was a good performance from Giannis. What do you think?
And he was 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. And so if you're the Atlanta Hawks, you feel good being up 1-0. But if you're the Bucks, you just exhale. You understand that you were in a tough series just like they were. KD was outstanding, and you just got to now readjust your mind frame. I don't think this is a panic time for the Bucks. I told you in the previous series when they were trailing 2 games that they will still win the series. I'm not going to panic on the Bucks. I'm still picking them to win this series, but it's time to celebrate the greatness of the Atlanta Hawks and the coming out party, not only as a passer, but as an assist guy. And I got to say one other thing. It's lazy to compare Trae Young and Steph Curry. Let me finish my sentence. I know they're both small guards, and I know they both shoot with range. But the only other things they have in common is that they're black. Trae Young is a primary ball handler, an initiator of offense. He does what Draymond Green does offensively for the Warriors. That's why you see Trae Young getting double-digit assists to go with his 40 points. And Steph Curry is the best at moving without the ball. If you notice, you never see Trae Young without the ball. So how they get their 40 is vastly different. That's, to me, what makes it a lazy comparison.
I agree. I would never compare those two, and I would say this. The only thing that they have in common is the amount of points they score and their build. That's pretty much it because their games are completely different. One thing I love about the environment in Milwaukee Bucks game, Packers lineman David Bakhtiari is at it again. Jalen, I'm not a good chugger. I can't really chug. The bubbles get to me. You know what I mean? I have to burp afterwards. But watch Bakhtiari. That's not even like a Pilsner. That's like an IPA. That's like a double IPA. Watch this, Jalen. Tell me what you're thinking right now.
I'm thinking that this footage is so ancient, and this is for American guys like yourself. You get excited about somebody chugging a beer. Like, to me, that's so overrated, dog. That is so overrated.
You could never chug a beer like that. You could never, ever, ever chug a beer like that, I promise you. Next time you're in studio, we'll find out. You could never do that. Never.
David,
never could you do that.
Darling Jacoby, I've chugged St. Ides and Old English 40 ounces. What do you mean I can't chug a cup of Bud Light or Miller Light? What do you mean?
Next time we're hanging out, I'm bringing a 40 of St. Ides and I'm bringing my iPhone, and we'll see what the footage looks like. Moving on to the Western Conference Game 3
I love his
tonight.
Hair, though. I love his hair.
I'm going to say it. This is a must-win for the Clippers in Los Angeles. Jalen, we all know the CP3 will be back. We all saw the value. But what are some of the other contributors from Phoenix that are important for them to keep riding this streak?
You know, one of the things about Jalen and Jacoby is we give the people what they want. And originality is what we do first and foremost. So whether it's cultural or regional, whether it's soft move or boss move, how about champagne and campaign? With Chris Paul out, this young man has not only been getting dimes, but also scoring the ball, not turning over the ball, and actually been a game-changing difference maker for a guy that was recently in the G League or overseas or just out of the league. Shout to Monty Williams and his coaching staff for turning champagne and campaign into an asset that was not an NBA player recently.
And it seems like we've been saying it ever since the Lakers series, but DeAndre Ayton, former #1 pick, who was in a great draft class, has been showing up every single game. Efficiency, defensive rebounding, playing great D, catching lobs, getting buckets, doing everything asked of him. Ayton has had an amazing series, Mr. Rose.
Here's what I love about hindsight. So if you look back at Ayton's draft, the Suns are happy that they picked him over Luka and Trae, because he's actually going to fit better with Booker. And also, Luka, who's considered to be the best of the three, is at home watching the playoffs. Now, the other person that was a part of those 4 guys getting picked, Marvin Bagley, Sacramento, you got to figure that out. I think the young fella got talent. But man, if you had a chance to get those other two guys, you got to be kicking yourself. But I agree with you. The productivity of Ayton to be able to catch lobs, make a free throw line jump shot, be able to grab offensive rebounds and play big has been crucial for the Phoenix Suns.
One development to keep an eye on is what happened to Devin Booker's nose. Now, as someone whose nose is on the wrong side of their face, I just want to say, I feel you, Devin. Join the club, dog. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. Here's my advice to Devin Booker. Look, don't wear the mask. It's going to get broken again in the offseason. You've got those Kendall Jenner hookups. Get your nose fixed in the offseason. Don't even bother with the mask. Because, listen, having your nose on one side of your face is not so bad. It's worked for me, and I'm handsome.
You are
so don't even worry about
handsome.
it.
You are handsome, but you can't play against Patrick Beverly and Marcus Morris and not have a mask on and your nose is broken. They will hit you in the face, so he must wear a mask.
My nose has been broken 14 times. When I'm like 50 and I stop playing pickup basketball, that's when I'm going to get it fixed.
Well, but hold on, Jacoby. But the Clippers may be in deeper trouble because I see it on the screen. Kawhi remains out. And CP3 returns. Now this becomes the biggest game, not only for the Clippers this year, but in the history of their franchise. Just like in the Eastern Conference, you look down at a sheet of paper, you think Lakers, you think Clippers. They're shoo-ins to win the West. All right, if they don't get it, maybe a healthy Denver Nuggets. What about the Utah Jazz as the number 1 seed? We have now the Phoenix Suns up 2-0 and the Atlanta Hawks up 1-0 in the conference finals in the conference finals in the NBA. This is great theater.
You know why I'm rooting for the Bucks? Because I'm concerned about you traveling to Atlanta a few times. You know, I'm concerned about you in Atlanta. So we got to get the Bucks. We got to get the Bucks to win. Jalen Rose, head coach of